Yes, my people, welcome back to the channel. And as you can see in the title of the video, I will be doing my Champions League predictions as well as predicting who will be the Champions League winner this season. So the way I'm going to do this is very simple. I'm going to go through the round 16 fixtures, obviously, because those are the games that are coming up next week. And then kind of predict as the stages go on to see who will be crowned the Champions League winner this season. So the first matchup I have is Paris Saint-Germain versus Chelsea Football Club. Now this one for me is, I'm not gonna lie to you, very interesting because these two teams did play in the FIFA Club World Cup final, and shockingly enough, Chelsea actually thumped Paris crazy. I felt like Paris Saint-Germain played quite poorly that game. I'm not gonna lie to you, that they had a shocking high line, and I don't think it'll be that type of game for this tie. I do think it'll be a lot close than people expect, but I do see Paris Saint-Germain sort of edging past Chelsea, just because I think the quality in attack for PSG, I think it will be a lot for Chelsea to handle across two legs. I think if this was a one-off game, I'm not gonna lie to you, I could see maybe Chelsea edging it, but because it's across two legs, I do think the quality will show. It's interesting because I think if Enzo Maresca was still Chelsea manager, I do believe Chelsea would have had a good chance to go through. I think Chelsea are very much a good cup side. They've shown that in the past. I do also feel like Chelsea could surprise a lot of people and teams this season. Another interesting aspect as well is the fact that Liam Rossoneri obviously came from Ligue 1, so he has the experience of managing against French side, especially PSG. So that will also be another interesting dynamic as well. But I'm gonna edge it to Paris. I'm gonna edge it to PSG just because I think the quality will show. So I'm going to put Paris, PSG through. I don't know why I keep saying Paris, but PSG through. The next game I have is Galatasaray versus Liverpool. I'm not going to lie to you, I think Liverpool got this one comfortably. I know they did lose to Galatasaray in the group stages, but I think Liverpool are hitting form. I think they are building momentum at the right time of the season. I do think across two legs, Liverpool have a lot of quality that will get them over the line. I do also feel like Galatasaray defensively are a bit weak. You saw that across the two legs against Juve. So I do see Liverpool going through comfortably on that one. So I'm going to put Liverpool through. The next matchup I have is Real Madrid versus Man City. It was probably the biggest tie in the round 16. This one's going to be interesting because I think Real Madrid, of course, with the star-studded team that they have a lot of quality players that can change games in any given moment. A lot of match winners. You've got Mbappe, of course. You've got Vinicius, guys that can produce a moment of magic at any moment. But as a team, I don't think they've been playing well this season. They're not really as cohesive as you'd like them to be. Of course, they do have the heritage. This is the club we're talking about that have the most Champions League. And you've seen in the past that when it comes to Champions League, they can turn it up in any given moment and you can never really count them out. Whereas I feel like with Man City, they are hitting into gear. They are catching momentum and form at the right time as well, just like Liverpool have. So it's going to be a very interesting tie. However, I think across two legs, I think just because Man City play a lot of better football, I think Man City got a lot of decisive players in the final third that can also win matches as well. I just see them going through. I do see Man City just edging it. I don't think it will be one-sided. I do think Man City and Real Madrid will be a close game across both legs, but I do see Man City edging it. So I'm going to give it to Man City. So I think Man City will go through in that tie. Then the next matchup we have is Atalanta versus Bayern Munich. I'm not going to lie to you, this is a mismatch. This is probably the biggest mismatch in the round 16. I see Bayern Munich go through comfortably. I think Bayern Munich this season have been cruising a lot. I mean, they're quite comfortably going to win Bundesliga. So for them, I think their focus now is on winning the Champions League. And I think Atalanta, who obviously did a magical comeback in the playoffs. I mean, football is unpredictable. Stranger things have happened. I wouldn't completely write off Atalanta, but if I had to go off paper, I just think Bayern Munich would be a bit too strong for them. So I'm going to put Bayern Munich through on that one as well. Then the next matchup we have is Newcastle versus Barcelona. A tie that we've already seen in the group stages, which Barcelona won 2-0 through Marcus Rashford. I think it was 2-0. I might be wrong, or 2-1. But again, I think this will be a closer tie than people expect it to be. I think Newcastle are always a tough side to play against. I think the physicality in the team, they do have quality. Across two legs though, I do think Barcelona will be a bit too much for them. And I think apart from the game at St. James Park, which might be a bit difficult, I do see Barcelona winning it comfortably. I'm not going to lie, in the second leg or the return leg at the new camp. So I'm going to put Barcelona through for that tie. And then we have Atletico Madrid versus Tottenham Hotspur. I don't know, this one feels a little bit like ass versus ass. I feel like Atletico Madrid have obviously picked up a bit of form since the start of the year. I think the signing of Lookman has been a bit of a game changer. He's added a bit of a new dynamic to the team. And then you have Tottenham, of course, that have been having a horrendous season. The fact that, you know, they're still playing Champions League football while also facing relegation, I think it's unprecedented. I don't think I've ever seen a team in a relegation battle, but yet still in the Champions League. It's crazy. So, I mean, this tie is interesting. I think it will be a bit of a close tie. I think Tottenham perform differently in the Champions League. They're a lot better in the Champions League than they are in the Premier League. So I do think it'll be a lot closer, but I am going to edge it to Atletico Madrid just because they are currently in better form. And then with the signing of Lookman, I think it's a bit of a game changer. He's added a different dynamic. So I'm going to give Atletico Madrid, I'm going to put them through for the next round. And then we have Bodo Glimt, who are having a crazy season. I'm not going to lie to you. They're having a crazy season. I mean, I don't know what the odds are on them to win the Champions League, but I mean, if they were to go out and win the Champions League, I think this would be greater than they're Leicester winning the Premier League. I mean, so far, their story in the Champions League in terms of all the big teams that they've beaten, Man City, Inter, of course, across the 2 legs in the playoffs, and also Atletico Madrid. So they've had some huge results, some unexpected results already in the Champions League. So, you know, they're having a special season. They're going up against Sporting, another side that have been a bit iffy in the Champions League this season. They're having a bit of an iffy season themselves. But I'm going to edge it to Bodo. I think they're going to carry on their story. I don't think their story ends here. So I'm going to push them through into the next round. And then the last one, which is also another mismatch in my opinion, is Bayer Leverkusen versus Arsenal. Now, I think this one, I just see Arsenal winning comfortably. I feel like this is a big mismatch as well. I think Arsenal win both legs. I think they'll win home and away. I think Leverkusen have been, again, having a poor season. I feel like they've been a bit up and down in the Champions League themselves. They're not having the greatest of seasons. They, of course, lost a lot of players over the summer, so they just haven't been the same. But yeah, I just see Arsenal going completely comfortably through into the next round for that one. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the quarterfinals. So we got some new matchups. So in the quarterfinal, for my predictions, I've got Paris or PSG versus Liverpool, Man City versus Bayern Munich, Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid, and Bodo versus Arsenal. Now, the first matchup, PSG versus Liverpool. This is a matchup that happened last season. Of course, PSG just edged it on penalties at Anfield. Again, this one is, I don't know, it's hard to predict this one because I feel like Liverpool have enough quality. When you look at it on paper, I feel like they have enough quality to get them over the line. But at the same time, PSG also have a lot of quality in attack that can also hurt teams. And if they really turn it up like the way they turned it up last season, they're a team that can potentially go on all the way to the final and actually win it. So it's interesting. And Liverpool, of course, having a bit of a disappointing season, may want to make up for it by trying to win the Champions League. So there's a lot to play for. There's a lot at stake. I feel like across 2 legs, this one's tight. This one's tough. I'm not going to lie to you. This one's tight. I'm going to say across 2 legs, my only thing is Liverpool, I feel like defensively are shaky this season. I think Konate and Van Dijk have had a lot of errors in them. Even in Europe, they've had a lot of errors. And they're prone to conceding goals. And when you have an attack like PSG do with Kvara, Dembele and Doué, they're going to hurt you. So I'm going to say across 2 legs, PSG will edge it. So I'm going to say PSG to go through if they play against Liverpool. And then the next game we have, which is another heavyweight clash, is Man City versus Bayern Munich. This one, again, is going to be very interesting. Very close matchup. I think there's not much between these 2 teams. Of course, Bayern Munich are having a better season than Man City currently. But I feel like Man City on any given day can match up to anyone. So this one's going to be quite tight. I think the one thing I've got in mind is that Bayern, of course, already going to wrap up the Bundesliga. So they will end up probably playing their B team or their second string team against teams in the Bundesliga. Whereas Man City will be obviously in a title race. They'll be playing pretty much every 3 or 4 days. And their intensity will be a lot higher. They will obviously have more tied legs. So that will be a factor. So it's going to be interesting. But if they have momentum, that could also drive them. I'm going to edge it to... People might call me crazy for this one. I'm going to say Man City to edge it across 2 legs. I don't know. Something tells me Man City was going to... That one's very tight. I'm not going to lie to you. But I'm going to edge it to Man City on that one. Next tie is Barcelona versus Atletico. This one's juicy. I'm not going to lie to you. Just because of what's happened recently in the Copa del Rey. Of course, Atletico Madrid beat Barcelona 4-0, scoring 4 goals in the first half against Barcelona. Which, I'm not going to lie to you. I think that was a freak result. I think it was a freak game. And obviously, Barcelona almost did the impossible. They almost came back. And the tie ultimately ended 4-3 to Atletico. But I think Barcelona would have learned from that lesson. And I do still feel like Barcelona are the better team. They do have better quality in their side. So I do see Barcelona edging it across the 2 legs. However, the fact that they do have Lookman, and you know that Barcelona play a high line, it's going to be a very interesting tie. I think that signing of Lookman it's a game changer. I'm not going to lie to you. He's added a completely different dynamic to their attack. You got Alvarez, you got Lookman now, and then you got Griezmann. They got players that can be decisive in big moments. But I'm going to say Barcelona. I'm going to say Barcelona to edge it across 2 legs. So I'm going to say Barcelona, especially at the new camp. I'm going to edge it to them. And then the next tie we have is Bodo versus Arsenal. Now, of course, again, I still feel like on paper, this is a huge mismatch. I do see Arsenal being the favourites if this tie was to ever happen. Bodo, of course, if they are carrying on with the way they are in terms of being magical, yes, they may have their moments, but I just feel like Arsenal are way too strong. And I do see, again, Arsenal winning across both home and away. Maybe the away leg might be tough because going to Bodo is a tough place. That's a lot of big teams I've already seen. So, I mean, Bodo could get a result at home. However, I just feel like once they come to the Emirates, I just think Arsenal will absolutely blow them away. So I just do see Arsenal go through regardless. I know Bodo's having a magical season, but I think it ends there. So I'm going to put Arsenal through. So now we are headed to the semi-final. So we have PSG versus Man City. And then we have Barcelona versus Arsenal. I'm not going to lie to you. If this was an actual real matchup in the semi-finals, I can't lie, we're in for a juicy one. This would be actually box office football, I can't lie. But the first one we have is PSG, Man City. I think in this tie, I think this is where it gets interesting because I think if Man City build that momentum, I see them kind of get into the final just because I feel like once you hit into that flow state of chasing a league title and then trying to chase the Champions League, I feel like teams usually hit a flow state where they just become almost formidable. But then you have PSG also that have a lot of quality. They are the holders of the Champions League. And they've shown last season that, you know, once they get into gear, they could be a big, big problem. So this is gonna be another tight tie. I see... Oh, this is tough. I'm gonna... You know what? Oh, this is tough. PSG or Man City? I feel like it generally is 50-50. It can go either way, but something is telling me... I'm gonna go with my gut instinct. Something is telling me it would be Man City to go through. I feel like Man City would edge it across 2 legs. I don't know, PSG this season, as good a team they are, and we know that they can obviously turn it up. I just feel like they haven't clicked as well as they have last season. Of course, a lot can happen from now to the end of the season, but if I was to just go off now, I'm going to edge it to Man City. So I want to say Man City to go through to the final. And then the second matchup in the semi-final is Barcelona versus Arsenal. Now, on paper, this is it. Incredible matchup, I'm not gonna lie to you. Barcelona versus Arsenal. Over the years, that's always been a entertaining tie. But you got one team that plays beautiful football, and then one team that plays haram football. So you literally got, Joga Benito versus terrorism. So we need to decide what's gonna win in this case. Obviously, terrorism in the context of football, by the way. Yeah. I just feel like at home, Barcelona will be difficult to play against. I think they're quite a good team, especially when they play at home. So the home tie for Barcelona, I think, is where they could get their advantage. But I just feel like with the high line and with the away leg going back to the Emirates, that's going to be a problem. I know this is going to sound crazy to say, yeah, but Gyökeres against that Barcelona high line, I can't lie to you, that might be a problem. I'm not going to lie, that might be a huge problem. So across 2 legs, I'm not going to lie to you, I think Arsenal edge it. I think Arsenal will be a bit too much. Of course, also the physicality of the team, the set pieces, the corners. I look at that Barcelona team, they're a bit frail. They got a lot of small players, a lot of, skinny, I wouldn't say skinny, but slim players, guys that are not as physical. So that would be a big weapon for Arsenal. I just feel like across the 2 legs, I think Arsenal win. And you also saw what Chelsea done to Barcelona at Stamford Bridge. So you can imagine what Arsenal could potentially do to them as well. So I'm going to say Arsenal to go through. And then now to the final, which is crazy because we have an all-English final, which would be crazy because it's the 2 teams that are currently fighting for the Premier League title. So, which is mad. It's crazy because you got the Carabao Cup final, you got them, obviously, both of them fighting for the Premier League title, and then imagine them to then play against each other in a Champions League final. One of these teams are going to have the worst summers of their life. The other one is going to be partying all summer. In a final, in a one-off game, Man City, Arsenal, neutral ground as well. Arsenal chasing their first Champions League. Obviously, Man City have already won it, so they'll be chasing their second. I just think a lot of it, I'm not going to lie, it depends on what happens in the domestic season. So what happens in the Carabao Cup final, obviously what's happening in the Premier League title. That would play a lot in terms of the emotions and the mental side of things. But if I'm just going off now, I'm going to say Man City to win, just purely because I think they already have the know-how to. They've already done it. A lot of the players have already won a Champions League. Pep's done it so many times as well. So I just feel like on the day, I think the experience matters. I feel like Arsenal may be a bit too nervous. They've shown that they can, that they can let nerves get the better of them, especially given that it's their first Champions League final in a long time. They're still chasing their first one. You kind of saw what happened to Man City when they played Chelsea in that Champions League final back in 2021. I feel like it's got that same feel to it, where I feel like the heritage will ultimately win. And that's why I'm kind of going with Man City, which is annoying because this is probably the worst matchup I could ask for. As a Man United fan, this is probably the worst matchup possible. You got your local rivals versus a team, for me anyway, that I personally hate, going up against each other for the biggest prize. But I'm going to go for Man City just because I think the heritage and the know-how will prevail in that fixture. But again, this is just my prediction. Of course, a lot can happen. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm just saying that if I was to forecast it, this is what I think could potentially happen. So for my predictions, I'm saying Man City will be the Champions League winners of this season. So there you have it. Let me know your thoughts on my predictions. I know a lot of people will disagree. A lot of people will agree. A lot of people will have their own thoughts. But let me know your thoughts and on my predictions in the comments. Let me know what your predictions are as well. Make sure to also like, share, and subscribe, people. Make sure to hit that like button. And until next time, peace.